Feel like today's trade deadline for some reason. Elias Lindholm got dealt the other day. Then we're waiting news right now as we do this show live of Sean Monahan going to the Winnipeg Jets. By the way, Frank Seravalli is dropping by in about 30 minutes from now, so we'll talk about that. I want to talk about the trade market from the Leafs perspective because you look at Calgary. I mean, they're selling. Chris Tane's name's been linked to this team for a while.
I know, and every time I hear anything Tanev, it doesn't really relate it to the Leafs. So I hope it's one of those things where they just come up and snipe him at the end. But they need a defenseman. He's kind of the guy that's out there that would fit well, that they're looking for, who could complement the Leafs back end where they need help, no question. But, like I said, every time I see his name, it's not connected to the Leafs. It's connected to someone else. So we'll see how it goes down. We got Frank coming up here soon. He's the guy to ask about anything related to trades.
And I can't forget as well, we have a trade deadline special on March 8th, and you had your infamous wife swap quote last year with the Ritchie brothers being dealt for each other. So I can only wonder what we have in store for this season.
It just made sense. I mean, you don't need to pack up your whole life. If you're brothers, you just kind of move into each other's spot there. It makes sense to me. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but in my mind, it's the way to do it.
It felt like Frank Seravalli, that was the first day he questioned. He's like, why do I work with these people, these delinquents? That's how he felt, I think.
No, I disagree. He undercover gets it, man. He doesn't put it out there on air, but he's a unit. Yeah,
Frank totally gets it, that's for sure. Again, that's Jay Rosal. I'm Nick Alberga, live here from the Seagram's VO Whiskey Studio, sponsorship X. We got Adam Copeland from AEW, big time WWE Hall of Famer coming up in about 5 minutes from now, too. So looking forward to talking to him. He was in the celebrity ball hockey game yesterday.
I was going to say, he was playing some street last night. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and check in on that. I want to pick his brain about how that went, see what he's got. He's got mitts. What's he got?
We're going to find out. I know he played hockey growing up. Obviously, comes from a physical background, being a pro wrestler. But, Rosie, we have to start off the show discussing the festivities last night in the player draft. You're also excited for that. I know you couldn't wait for it.
Ugh. You see McKinnon be like, I don't know.
Dude, that was fucking cringe.
Might have been cringe. Like, was that cringe? Maybe it wasn't. Felt like cringe. It's everyone's got a mic. No one's, like, everything that comes out of your mouth is amplified. There's not passing a mic around, and it's just kind of, it's hard, man. Those live shows, I can't imagine, getting into media now and seeing how it works when you got all those moving parts, all those moving pieces, people everywhere, celebs, players. It's difficult, but I mean, what else are you supposed to do? They did it once with the Kessel thing. That was obviously the big story of that night where Kessel gets picked last, but they had it on a stage. They did it a little differently on the ice this year. It was fine. I mean, you get the celebs going as the captains. Like, what else are you supposed to do? It is what it is. It's not scripted. These guys aren't media moguls. They don't. Yeah. They're hockey players. So everyone expects them to like carry the show, but it's like, what if they're not into that? What if that's not their gig? So it is what it is. They mix it up as good as they can, and another heavy Leafs team, it looks like.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, like, I don't want to criticize the league, obviously, because I work for the league and do work with the league. But I will say this weekend is for the fans and the kids, and I get that. But, like, you can't have a last pick. You're going to hurt a multi-millionaire's feelings, so we have to fucking unveil envelopes for the last picks.
Is that what it was?
I don't know. If we're going to do this player draft, let's do it right. The other thing, too, it's a tummy sticks league, man. Like, we talked about this leading up, and you thought I made too much of it, but the Leafs did exactly what we expected. They got all their fucking crew together. Can you imagine a day where these guys are not playing together? Because I can't. They're going to cry. They're going to cry.
I don't know what the deal is. It'd be nice to see them play against each other, see Matthews rub Marner out on the wall or something like that. But no, they organize it so they're all playing together. I don't know. Aren't they sick of each other? Wouldn't it be fun to play with a McKinnon or play with, a Crosby or, McDavid, see what's going on outside of the Leafs land? But they're tight. Hey, I guess it's all right. They like playing together. They want to keep their juju. Let them play in the All-Star
Let
game.
me ask you this, and sorry to interrupt. So you've been in an NHL room. You've played for the Maple Leafs. Would guys actually care about that? Because I won't lie, like Marner looked like he cared a bit last night. Like
he was
I don't want to start a controversy, but like, would guys care about that?
Why? Because they picked Nylander in front of him?
Yeah. No, but would they care about, like, let's say Team Matthews is like, we're not going to take one of our guys. We're going to go with somebody else. Would a guy care about that? Would he give you heat for that?
I would think he's got more important things going on in his life than that. But I thought, I don't know. It's in Toronto. I'm sure they were just like, hey, see if you can get all you guys on one team. It's in Toronto. They're all on the same team. Lots of picture, photo ops. And sure, they're probably like, I could care less. So I don't think it was a big tummy sticks thing where I have to play with my boys. But I would have liked to see these guys play with different guys, see what kind of chem they have out there. If Mitch is dishing to McKinnon or something, or Draisaitl, that'd be cool. But they're all gonna be playing together, and maybe they hook up a whole bunch and make some cool plays. And like you say, media, Toronto, Leafs all together makes sense.
The Vancouver guys did it too. I mean, the Colorado
Buble,
connection.
right?
Yeah, Buble, that's another big story. I think our weekend MVP, Michael Buble, and our very own Matt Larkin of Daily Faceoff asking the initial question about playing in the same fantasy league as Buble, and then Buble went on some tangent how he was on mushrooms, which I thought was great.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me, man.
No.
Everyone else is on booze. It's pure poison.
He's on a
little something like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt anybody, man. Good for him. And I hope he owns it, too. Doesn't backtrack and apologize. Apologize for what? But good on him for having the balls to say, yeah, I'm having fun out here. And, good Vancouver boy is stacking up on Canucks, so that team looks cool, too. And, again, with Toronto being here, with the Leafs, blah, blah, as I'm talking, I'm like, oh, it makes sense. They were probably told, see if you can stack your guys up on one spot, which makes sense. And I don't know if Mitch was crying he was picked last or not, but
no, I don't think it matters.
I'm sure he's fine. Mitch will be good.
Yeah, he'll be good. I was texting with you. I said Morgan Riley was on one of our mutual favorite shows. It's not ours, and Overdrive, obviously. And Morgan Riley was on, and he was pretty much saying how they were trying to find a way to get everybody together. But you can't, as a Leafs fan, as somebody who covers the Leafs, you can't help but just laugh at the fact that they prioritize speed and skill. They have the smallest team in this fucking I don't know. I'm that guy though. You've worked with me for long enough. I'm that guy where it's like, man, let's get Tom Wilson on the team. Like, let's do that. Let's do that.
I don't think you're going to find a lot of muckers and grinders at the All-Star game this year. So every team.
Have you watched Brady Tkachuk play hockey? Tom Wilson play hockey?
Those are unicorns, my man.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not Tom, but Brady is a unicorn. He's one of my favorites in the league.
So good.
But if what was I going to say? If I was one of the other captains, I would have been the heel and started picking Leafs off and ruining it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Everybody was trying to keep it kosher, and I get it, but like from a drama standpoint, I think it's good for a player draft. Like, what's a guy going to do? Be angry at you for the year because you didn't take him?
Who cares? No.
Like, I thought that'd been so cool if they start picking guys. Yeah.
And I would have just wrecked their little plan by
I know you
yanking Marner onto my team or something like that if I was picking them. But it all went kosher. It's all for the kids.
Best part is that like Sidney Crosby wasn't even there. You see the video? He's like in Montana at an outdoor rink today.
I know. What's
yesterday.
with that?
It was weird.
Rented an ODR and got some cameras set up to start ripping some drills all by himself. That's Sid, man, consummate. So did he opt out of this, or did he make it, or no?
So if you tune in late to this thing, which I did, like Crosby was selected and some fucking little kid showed up. And I'm like, where's Crosby? Like, is this a joke? I thought he was still on the red carpet or something. But I guess he just showed up late. Like, he's going to be here today and he's going to play. And Team McKinnon, unsurprisingly, it's so crystal clear those guys want to play together from the same place. Selected him, but they had a kid stand in for Sidney Crosby.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's weird. Sid goes to Montana, so far away. Must have a little family trip booked and had to fill some obligations to the fam and then cruise over late, which, hey, good for him. Whatever Sid does is probably the right thing to do because he does everything right.
Very true. And again, as Toronto hosting this thing, I think it speaks volumes. I mean, if it was somewhere else, not to throw shade somewhere else in another market, maybe Crosby doesn't come back from Montana. Maybe he just stays there.
I don't know. I wonder if it matters to the guys. I know they like sunshine, and you go to those markets like last year in Florida. It's nice to get a little sun, get your shorts and the flip flops out. But coming up here is just kind of a different beast, right? You come to this big city, and the buzz is palpable as we've been talking about. So that's also another big deal. If you're a brand guy and you got your own sponsors, your own personal stuff, it would make sense for you to show up here just media-wise to get your name out there and your brand out there. Plus a big buzz around here. I don't know. These guys' careers are short, no matter if you're a Hall of Famer or not, man. There's only so many opportunities. If you're Ovechkin and you opt out of one, I get it. Maybe you got some groin stuff going on. You want to heal up. You want to head home and see your doctor, that kind of stuff. I get it. But I think the days of, opting out of the All-Star game all in general just because you're not into it, I think that's kind of going to wind down as these players and their brands become bigger and bigger. Yeah,
it's fair to say. And, of course, we're looking at breaking news on social media today, too, that it's been speculated upon. I believe Commissioner Bettman's talking later on today about the Olympics and players returning to the Olympics. We have Frank Seravalli again coming up in about 20-25 minutes, and we'll break that down. But we're not going to get an All-Star game for a couple of years. Maybe that was the thought process too. Maybe I'm overthinking this whole Toronto narrative where it's like this is the last All-Star game for a while. Players realize that.
Maybe. I don't know if they saw that coming or thinking that far ahead, but that is exciting news. I think someone kind of dropped the ball early there and stole it from Gary from announcing it, but it sounds like that is something that will take place, which I think is wicked and exciting. I mean, how do you have the Olympics with hockey in it and you don't have NHLers? It's like, why? What are we doing then? What's the point? What does this mean?
Yeah.
So to get these guys back in, and I mean, there's so much. Think about the teams and the agents and the leagues and the insurance that's going on to, and the money to press pause on the NHL season for 2 weeks. I remember when I was playing the 2010 2-week break, that was wild. I was just like, this is a 2-week break. I remember I took off, did some vacationing, and, tried to find ice to stay on so you didn't feel like a complete slug coming back. But that's a big deal, and a lot of logistics go into it. I think that was the problem, insurance-wise, money, all that stuff. And if they've sorted that out and they can get those guys playing in the Olympics, that's fantastic news if you ask me.
As a Canadian, I won't lie, I'm rather worried. The American squad is gaining ground quick, and they're good.
It ebbs and flows, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I went back through World Juniors, which just passed, and you're looking at the wins and the losses, and there's times where it looks like Canada will never lose again, and there's times where it looks like, what is going on? Are we losing it here? And it ebbs and flows, but right now, coming down the barrel, the Americans are looking very solid. They have produced some wicked talent, and I think hats off to their development team and their national teams that they have, where I've played with lots of guys where they come off of that and they don't play junior, they play on the national team, and it's pretty badass. And whatever they're doing is pumping out some really good hockey players, and they are right there up with Canada. And I think we'll find out in the Olympics if they're neck and neck or if they've surpassed them recently. So I'm looking forward to that rivalry.
And I believe they're also unveiling today, and again, Frank Seravalli is coming up, a sort of World Cup next year, some type of format. I think it might be 4 teams, Boston and Montreal. And right away, people are going to start to make their teams. And you look at the Leafs specifically, I think Morgan Rielly has a good shot. Obviously Matthews, obviously Nylander. I think Marner's got a good shot. Like there's going to be a lot of Leafs content to cover.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
It's good for us.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
No, as long as it's best on best, man. We haven't really seen that in the last little while. It's kind of, logistically, they haven't been able to figure it out. I think insurance was a huge deal. Ownership, NHL, Bettman making decisions, what's best for us. Everyone's looking out for their best interests, and that's reasonable. But to go a long time without best on best is kind of a shame. And if they can get back to it and find a way to facilitate getting these countries together and seeing who's the best, it's nice to separate them and say, holy, look at Sweden these days. Look at the talent coming out there. Look at the U.S. right now. Oh, my God. And who's the, goaltenders traditionally coming out of Quebec, Canadians, like who's out there right now? Who's the hot guy? Who's the hot hand? And what country is pumping out the best product this decade? And it's fun to watch, so I'm glad we're getting back to it. It's exciting stuff. So a lot of good news broken out here this weekend.
Lots of great news. And again, Frank Seravalli's coming up. I believe we're going to take a short break, come back with our guest here. Lots cooking. It's a big buzz. Toronto All-Star Weekend. It's Nick Alberga, Jay Rosa, Leafs Morning Take. Adam Copeland is coming up next in mere moments.
My family's very own whiskey, barrel-aged and set apart, marked with VO, artfully blended, impeccably crafted, as a wedding gift to my son, for the bride and groom. And now, over a century later, from our very own family to yours, a legacy rooted in whiskey. Seagram's VO, growing deeper, reaching out, raising a glass to your legacy. Seagram's VO, make it your very own.
kids to wake me up at 6 a.m., no dogs licking me in the face.
Wow. 11 a.m. Don't tell your wife that. She'll hang that over your head for a long time.
I know. I'll be up doing everything from that point forward. So.
What's it like being here?
Oh, it's great, man. It's coming back home. Yeah. I reside in Asheville, North Carolina. Love it. Raising our kids there. But every time I come back here, like as soon as I land, it's home. And so to come down here, All-Star weekend, I think it was 25 years the last time All-Star game was here. So it was like,
crazy.
I got to get this weekend off and come up here and enjoy this.
How often do you get back home?
Not as much as I'd like. Usually it wraps around a wrestling show. So this is nice that it doesn't revolve around that, and it doesn't feel as rushed because of that, which is good. But probably 5-6 times a year.
Yeah, not bad. Could be more.
It could be more.
Bump those numbers up.
I could get them into double digits.
You got jumped into a ball hockey tournament, though? How's that
did.
going?
How'd you do?
I got a hat trick.
Atta
So,
babe.
there's that.
We've talked about this before. Like, you have a hockey background, right?
Well, yeah, but it's one of those deals. Like, okay, we're playing a ball hockey game. Celebrity ball hockey game. Just have fun. Coast.
No.
Within 10 seconds, I'm like,
The switch goes
oh,
off.
it went off. And I went, I can't not try. So I'm like rolling ankles. And just one shoe came off. I kept playing. Just kicked it off. Scored. It was barefoot.
Any hits or what?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just that chip.
Love it.
Yeah.
I've been playing mini sticks lately in the basement with my kid. They're at that age where I can't pick them up from school. They won't even say hi. They're like, "Can we play mini sticks?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh man!" And I get out there and
They're
my
coming,
kid,
right?
Broken ankles. My kid's always saying to me when he like walks me, I'm like, "Do you want me to start trying? Because I will put you through that wall."
Broken ankles.
Shit, that's good. You got out to do stuff. They got any other plans for this weekend? I'm sure you got a gaggle of things.
We're actually. I'm going to do like a deprivation tank.
Are you?
Yes.
Sensory
which
dep?
I've never done it before.
Wicked.
So find me in a few hours and tell me if anything's changed.
We should grab Buble and do some mushrooms before you go do it.
Dude, that was legendary shit last night. I'm sorry. That was
What
pretty
a
big.
beauty.
That was epic.
It's man. What do you say to that? Like you just gotta laugh. It's great.
Hey, you're a Leafs guy. What did you think of them doing the old tummy sticks thing and selecting each other, playing with each other on the same team again? I'm making too much of it, right?
Probably.
I probably. Yeah.
It just gets
what I
pissed
do.
off easy.
It's the All-Star game.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I don't know. I don't go into an Avengers movie thinking I'm going to see an Oscar contender. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be fun.
Got a goalie in Toronto, Jake Ottinger, man.
Ottinger and Shesterkin.
Wow.
That's
We
a
love
tandem.
Joey Wall on this podcast. Let's make that frank, but
Excited for him to come back.
Yeah.
No, it's neat.
Yeah,
What
it'd be good to see him come back.
what do you take from it? This year it seems a little bit different. They've done, we've had the NHL powers that be that put this thing together on the show, and they're like, we're always open for suggestions. We can't do anything without getting, some flack from this side or that side. Is it too goofy? Is it too serious? Do the players care? Should we put some money up? And is that gross to give these guys money for this? And back and forth. And, Nick was there last year in Florida, a little gimmicky. They're trying to sell it to the fans down there. This year seems a little bit different. Like they might get it right. I'm kind of excited for it. What's your take so far that you've been in town?
I'm glad I'm coming to this All-Star game. As opposed to like the one in Vegas where they were like out in the fountain.
I was there too. It was
On the golf course shooting pucks and greens and stuff. It's like, oh, God.
And I get it. You're trying to sell it to a larger audience, but that's not the All-Star weekend. That's the All-Star weekend is about the skills competition, and it's about that's the sell.
Yeah.
That's what this sport is, not shooting pucks on a golf course.
I agree.
It's not.
We got away from it for a couple of years, I think.
Yeah.
But now it's like in Toronto. We were just talking about this. Has a different feel this year, and maybe we're biased because we're from here, but it's like it's a different feel to it. Like because I was in Sunrise, I've been in Vegas, Tampa, like unconventional markets. You come to this one, there's just a buzz in the air. It's weird.
Yeah, well, the whole city.
Yeah.
Right. It like you can feel it.
Yeah.
On the streets. Like even last night, we're driving over, and the driver was like, "This city's hopping." And the drivers always know before anybody else too, by the way, because they're out in it.
Yeah.
So and that's fun. That's super exciting. Like even just walking around last night and seeing all the jerseys and all the memorabilia. You go to a lot of cities in the States, you're not going to see that. So that's fun.
When you wrestled here, was that buzz? Did you feel that? I know you're from here, and there'd be extra, incentive for the crowd to be big and energized when you're out there. But was it different? Did other wrestlers feel that too? Like, oh, baby, we're in this big smoking city right now.
Yeah, you definitely know when you got a hot town.
Mm-hmm.
But like this type of experience where it's like the entire city kind of becomes part of it is really like a WrestleMania where everything is rolled into town, and it's the Stanley Cup, it's the Super Bowl, it's the, pick your analogy. But there's always certain cities we go to where it's like, oh yeah, I mean, Toronto, Chicago, Montreal's always good. There's just certain cities are always going to be, it's going to be a little bit different.
You talk about a big game player, this guy, and I want to translate it to the NHL. Like, dude, the pyro hits, the music comes on. I fucking heard your song the other day. I was at the gym, and your theme song came on. I'm fucking like on this, like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you channel? Like, it's hilarious because I love Punk too. Punk's my boy too. Every time his song comes on, I go nuts. Like, how do you you channel yourself on the way to the ring? Because I've seen so many of your matches. The song plays, and you're like,
yeah. I don't know if I do channel myself, honestly. I throw it all out there.
Yeah.
Michael Hayes pulled me aside at one point and said, the more you throw at the audience, the more you'll get back. Right. And I've used that ever since, and it worked. It's true. Do
you get any say in wrestling, depending on what outfit you're in? Like, on this is kind of where I want this character to go, this is the song I want to come out to, or do you get more of that as you climb the ladder?
More of that comes as you climb. I've always been really hands-on, though, probably to the point of annoying people, but
like even your gear, right? Like your gear's
I design it all.
Yeah.
I put the ideas down on paper, and I'll I draw them and then send them to my, the woman who makes my coats and the guy who makes my in-ring gear and the T-shirts, all of that stuff. I'm really involved.
So correct me if I'm wrong. The championship belt in the room is from you, right? You inspired that, right?
Yes. Sorry, it took me a second. It's early still.
Yeah, no worries.
It's not. Yeah. So I don't know. I was just this was before Bruce was doing it with the Canucks and everything. I got the belt and then held on to it until the next time I was up here. And the next time I was up here was for a show. And Morgan had come, his friend wanted to meet me, so brought him. And then I said, hey, here's his belt. He's like, oh, it's awesome. I was like, no, it's for you or for you guys.
Yeah.
To do with whatever you want. But
I didn't know that.
Cool.
Yeah, that's
so sick.
Every game, like
you can tell. You can tell. You look at it, you're like, oh, because my kids that I coach have the WE belt that's like from Amazon or something. But I look at that one, I'm like, someone made that thing, and it is nice.
Yeah. I had that one made, and so I didn't know what they'd use it for, or if they needed to. Just if you want to frame it above a door, whatever it is. And so when I saw what they were doing, I was like, man,
sick.
The 5-year-old in me who was watching Lanny breakaway is pretty stoked.
Like, man, it's just like so incredible. Obviously, I grew up watching you. Like, could you ever have imagined, like, years ago, this is where you would be? You're a Hall of Famer, just doing your thing.
No, I don't think. There was never a plan not to succeed. I didn't let that filter in anywhere.
Yeah.
But I didn't think.
Came back to from
all that stuff.
Crazy story, man. Like,
no way I would have assumed any of that. There's no way I'd think that at 50 years old I'd still be wrestling and on a Disney show.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. You've accomplished so much, and like you're the ultimate story of perseverance. Where I remember a decade ago you were done. You you had the whole address, you were finished, and then you somehow came back and made this after story.
Yeah, I don't even think about that too much, because if I do, I'll go. What I shouldn't be doing this probably.
So we talked about Jake Muzzin last year, remember?
Yeah, and that's why whenever I hear things like that, it really, it sticks with me, because I know the emotional fallout too. It's not just the physical aspect of it; it's what it does to your emotions when you can't do this thing that you've always wanted to do, and you've only done that for think about a guy like Muzzin. When he started playing hockey, that's all he's done. You know,
Totally.
and father and all of those things. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of a profession and that thing that you drive yourself toward, if you're a driven person, and he has to be, if you make it to the NHL, you have to be a driven person. That's a hard fallout for sure.
So how physically, like, the way I played the game was hard since I was a kid, since we started playing hit hockey. I mean, you skate as fast as you can and come to a dead stop against the back wall, you know, the boards, and it adds up. And as you hit 30, 35, looking at 40, body's starting to, and I always think, what about those wrestlers, man? Like, every match is like a car crash, and then I look at you still doing it into your 50s. How do you keep the body going? How do you feel when you get out of bed? Your joints must just, like, what's your routine to keep it going?
Well, I literally got out of bed and came here.
So you're stiff right now?
I'm moving okay. No, I just equate it to moving, honestly.
Yeah.
And continuing to move and not letting those days where it's like, oh God, I don't want to do a thing. Well, I'll get up and do something.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's not a full workout, even if it's like, I'll go do the sauna and the plunge and some self-care.
Yeah.
I'll go stretch. I'll, do all of those things. The fact that now you have meal prep companies and it makes maintaining your diet so much easier. I don't know, just stupid things. I drink a gallon of water a day.
Yeah.
I just that stuff. But I think a lot of it is just mindset too. Just keep moving.
Love it.
Lastly, my final request. I want to put you on the spot. Can you cut a promo? Look into that camera and cut a promo on the Leafs.
Not on.
What do you want to cut it on? What do you think makes sense?
I can't cut it on.
You're quick on the spot, though. I know you are. The deadline. I don't know.
A promo of the deadline. Jesus.
I want
totally
this
put
guy
me
on the spot.
Sorry. Buddy.
Totally. That's okay. That's okay. I'll cut it toward the Montreal Canadiens. Le Habitant. That's cute. That's cute. The Canadiens with an E. Yeah. Also really cute. And don't even get into Maple Leafs. Okay. Don't give me that. You walk around here all of these years, the fan base of the Montreal Canadiens, thinking you are better than everyone else, looking down your nose at everyone else. Well, we are the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we are going to beat your ass.
That's how we end it, man. Thank you so much. My man Adam Copeland will be back after this.
Sorry, Montreal fans. I don't mean it.
It unites a lot of things, and when you're in the mix like this, you run into people and make friendships with, Adam Copeland and some legends like that. It's pretty awesome. We're lucky.
You know what unites me? Wendy's bacon portobello mushroom melt.
I could use that right now.
It may not help you win weekly prizes of Wendy's and daily face-off fantasy, but unlike your predictions, Rosie, never disappoint. So try your luck, but don't push it, because the bacon portobello mushroom melt is only back for a limited time. Sign up for Daily Face-Off today, sponsored by Wendy's and the Wendy's app, as we look forward to the skills competition tonight. And I believe Frank Seravalli is going to stop by, but he probably pulled like a Adam Copeland. Although, probably not. I don't want to sewer Frank. There's a lot happening. Like Tyler Remchuk just walked into the room. I guess Todd McClellan was canned in L.A. just now. Sean Monahan's just been traded to the Winnipeg Jets.
I know, what's going on? They're supposed to wait until the deadline to do this stuff so we can do shows around it. But no, not surprising. I mean, L.A. was looking like a solid team, and they just fell off the map. Kind of around the beginning of it was kind of on that California swing that the Leafs did, where we were pretty excited about a nice win against the Kings there, but they just slid and slid and slid and slid, and now they cannon their big boy behind the bench, and they're looking for answers there. I'm glad we're not that team right now.
Well, we were that team like 2 weeks ago. I think we had a couple clips out there about Sheldon Keefe, but it seems like the Leafs just don't make moves like that. They don't rush to decisions where teams sometimes have to make decisions.
Well, if we were doing a show in that market, we would be talking about Kenny McLennan for a long time now.
Yeah.
So I know that we don't have the microscope on the LA Kings, and it's like, oh, they just did this out of the blue, but it probably was a long time coming. And if it was this market, it would have been talked about for a long time until that hammer finally dropped on McLennan today. So, they needed a change. It's the best way to make it, man. The coaches are the ones that often fall on the sword.
Definitely, and we'll be tracking that. Frank Seravalli is getting set up here in studio. We're going to have him on in mere moments, and I believe we're going to take a break. We'll keep going, and we'll get Frank in here.
Who do you think is going to get that skills thing? If you're betting, which we should.
Yeah.
I'm sure Betano's got it.
Yeah.
But who do you got your money on? The overall, not just who's got the hardest shot, this guy. Who's the fastest skater? McDavid. Overall, on all the different ones, an athletic decathlon.
You're still hammering this home,
It's
eh?
Billy Madison, an academic decathlon. Yeah. But who's going to take the overall most skilled player in the league title and $1 million $1
Well, it's likely the person who didn't get gooned the most last night. Yes. I think it's important to bring that up because I've seen some stuff behind the scenes and people get after it. So
I don't know. Do these nerdy superstars get after it anymore, or do they just tuck themselves in and game all night?
It's a good question. Hey, we got Frank Seravalli.
Frankazoid.
Hi.
Your phone blowing up?
Yes. Sources, I don't know. Is this mic on? Sources say the players did get after it last night a little bit.
Yeah. Good.
See?
Good.
Did Frank Seravalli get after
some
it?
phones were being taped up at the entrance to a party or two.
Nice.
So no photos. No photos.
Phones being taped up. That's awesome.
Old school.
I like that. It'd be nice to get out there for those guys and just know that they're not on camera 24/7. Like, you talk about them, some people are poo-pooing.
But come on, who cares, really?
Depends what you're doing.
Well, yeah, if you're blowing lines off of a mirror, then I'd say that's a totally different thing. And you know what? No one wants to see that photograph. But if you're having a casual cocktail,
100%.
What's wrong with that?
You also know the media these days. TMZ would jump on it if McKinnon's dating this guy and some girl comes up to take a picture with him and his arm's a little too close around her. Oh, now his girlfriend's calling him that. It's like, can you just get the fucking cameras off of me? Can I just have a timeout here? It'd be nice for them to go to a place where the cameras are taped up and they don't even have to worry about it. And then maybe they do blow a little.
I guess. Well, so yeah, that was a night.
You see Bublé last night?
Mushrooms?
It was on TMZ.
Zoomies?
Hey, thanks to Matt Larkin. I'm not sure that gets out there if not for our intrepid daily face-off reporter Matt Larkin on the scene asking questions of Bublé.
So big question for you. What the fuck are we doing on March 8th?
Good question. Let's see how long the Calgary Flames hold on to Chris Tanev and or Noah Hanifin, and then I'll be able to better answer that. But I mean, look, a GM said this to me last week, and I think I said it on your show. If you took the three guys from the Flames out of the top five, what are we looking at here?
It's thin.
It does. Well, you know what it does? I think it forces teams that are in contender mode to get smart. Try and pursue other players. We've heard just in the last 24 hours names that really haven't been out there because they're not the traditional pending UFA rental type players. Hey, let's go look at Scott Lawton from the Flyers. Let's go look at Boone Jenner from the Blue Jackets. Pick a guy that has a little bit of term, that is valuable to his team, that they feel like, hey, you know what? If I'm going to be giving up all this stuff, I might as well get a guy that I have under contract for the next few years.
Yeah. Does that ever happen where, guys go kind of against the grain and call a GM and say, we're looking at this guy, and the GM's like, he wasn't even on my mind, and then you start exploring other avenues? Or is it kind of
depends if the offer is legitimate.
Yeah.
You don't just kind of mosey into a conversation and say, I kind of like this guy, or maybe what do you think about, just say, no, hey, I'm really interested in X and I'd be willing to pay a lot, and here's what I'm thinking. Then all of a sudden it kind of gets the wheels turning a little bit.
What do you think the average amount of conversations are between making a deal? Is it ever just a one-shot deal, or is it
on the
humming and hawing, kicking tires?
Two managers involved.
It depends how stubborn they are.
Well, not even that. It's just some guys are able to, I know there was a trade last year that took, I think, 2 phone calls total.
Really?
And was done in an hour.
Love it.
And it was basically like, hey, I remember you called me a few years ago about this guy. I've told this story before. It was Philip Hronek. And the Canucks and Jim Rutherford had made an inquiry previously, and Steve Yzerman called and said, this is how it was relayed to me. Hey, I remember that you asked me about Philip Hronek. And he said, well, if that's the case, are you still interested? And apparently Jim Rutherford obviously said yes. And he said, okay, here's what I'm looking for, X, Y, and Z. And if that's okay, I won't shop him around. Call me back and we'll do the deal. Jim said, give me 30 minutes. He met with his staff. Boom, done. Trade happened.
Easy. It's like my wife in Mexico not bartering with any of the people there. Just like, how much does it cost? Okay, nice and easy. Where I'm like, hold on a second here, fella. What are we going to do about this? And why don't you throw that in and doing a little wheeling and dealing, baby? Sounds like those two guys are straight to the point.
I love it. And Jim Rutherford, he's involved in everything. He probably single-handedly keeps you employed, right?
Not single-handedly. I mean, there are 31 others, but yes.
Pretty active, though. So I'm trying to transfer this over to, the Brad Treliving conversation. What they always say about him, he's active and he knows about everything. Is that true? He's in everything?
He's generally very aware, I would say, yes.
Yeah. What are you hearing on that front? Because obviously we've had this conversation the last couple of weeks. They're in a weird, precarious position, and it's they don't know if they should go for it, just stand pat. What are you hearing on their front?
Well, I think that's what they're sitting back and thinking, also examining the past few deadlines of, hey, we gave up a lot the last few years for some rentals that really haven't panned out. And then you start to look at your prospect cupboard and you say, well, if I'm going to be here for the next however many years, 5 years, 8 years, Brad Treliving was in Calgary for a while, I need to have a certain number of assets available to me. I don't have very much cap space, but a little bit now thanks to John Klingberg. The defense is obviously really thin, and we've talked about that for a long time. You look at that situation, you say, well, is this the year to load up? I think it's a fair question and a proper existential question to ask, but my response to that would be, are you really going to let a 70-goal season from Austin Matthews slip away? Are you really going to pay all these guys this much money to just sit tight? And maybe that's the play, because I've argued before that, you know what? Sometimes it's the small move. It's the curated selection, the guy for a second-round pick that ultimately ends up making the biggest difference. Go through the last number of Stanley Cup winners. It's not always trading a first-rounder that gets you there. And so if you believe in your team, which I guess basically the sense we're getting is that maybe they don't, and fair questions to ask, it's just that I have a hard time doing that with this core.
It is tough, the situation they're in with these 4 guys. Got to make hay while the sun shines, yet how do we accomplish that? Cap implications, what's out there for defense? Say a deal gets done tomorrow for Tanev. We got to shore up our blue line at the deadline. Who's next in line? The names aren't world beaters that you could get your hands on, and how much is too much? What do you give up for him?
To be fair, is Tanev a world beater?
No, he's not.
No.
And I just view Tanev as more in the same line of go through some of the other and I know it's a different regime, but whether it's Giordano or Muzzin or Brody or you're getting guys that are in their mid-30s that are just on the wrong end of the slope.
Yeah.
They're going down, and that's a tough thing age chart wise to really, you're not asking for forever. You're only asking for a few months, but considering the price that you pay, it might be pretty significant.
Do you think anyone on the current roster could be involved, and who do you think that could be? Who could be thrown in? Maybe someone that would surprise people that, hey, you're going to throw this guy in, someone might need him, or is it kind of the way it looks?
Well, I think that's the other tough part about this is then, okay, so you pluck off a piece here, then you're trying to, fill that spot. And then like what you do is you end up going about creating more holes that way. Unless you have an authentic hockey trade, which like, I hate the term because all trades are hockey trades.
True.
But unless you have an old school, hey, we think this guy's a better fit than what we have, I just don't see that materializing for the Leafs right now.
So 2 teams that I think sort of make sense. Philadelphia, you mentioned Scott Lawton. He went to my high school, actually, in Oakville.
I know Lott's good.
So Philadelphia.
He's a good dude.
Columbus as well. Like, are those ideal sort of trade partners if the Leafs are looking? There are some defensemen. I know they've been looking at Walker, Sealer, guys like that.
Are they ideal?
Like, would that make? Is that where we should be looking from a Leafs perspective? Because I think you're so right. Like, who's out there?
I think you start looking under mattresses, in between couch cushions. I think
'Cause that'll get it done, eh?
We just talked about this market and how it's not great, and how there's a bunch of players available, but there's probably a pretty good reason why most of them are, right? All of the really good players are locked up for term. Yeah. And there's rare exceptions. Lindholm's a really good one. But those go for an arm and a leg comparatively to probably what the Leafs have a stomach to spend right now. And that's sort of the world they're living in.
Do you notice a trend of the deals getting done before the deadline? Like, I remember the trade deadline, I think last year was a little thin too. You're looking around going, well, geez, look what they've already done. You're obviously centered around shows like that. Are you noticing a trend where people are pulling the trigger early and early or not waiting?
I think this is pretty standard. I mean,
Yeah.
Over All-Star, I would say that part is a bit of a surprise. It typically doesn't happen, but you're also giving managers, a 5-day bye week in between where,
True.
Hey, well, I don't have to be at the rink. I don't have to be watching a game. I don't have to be traveling. I've got some time to sit with my staff in an office, make calls, and make things happen. So that part but it's probably pretty typical between December, January, and February. We're now 2 days into February. You're usually looking at a small handful of deals, 3 or 4. So somewhat standard.
We're seeing the dominoes fall. So you mentioned Lindholm goes to Vancouver. Sean Monahan, like an hour ago, goes to Winnipeg. Adam Henrique, my boy. What is he the next domino to fall? Like the New York Rangers would make sense. Like where do you think he's headed?
Oh, I would think that the Lindholm deal snapped everyone to attention, basically saying, hey, if you're in the market for a center, you're now down to 2 impact options. And now that Monahan's gone, and when you considered, I think, the list of teams that probably would have been in the mix, you're now the pool has been narrowed, right? Because 2 teams are out, but it's the last guy left unless you're dealing with someone with term. And maybe that's, as we just said, maybe that's the play.
Creativity, right? All right, let's leave it at that. We know what's coming up on DFO Live.
Todd McClellan, Sean Monahan, a lot of the same stuff we just talked about from a league-wide perspective. And we'll have on Matt Larkin, who made things happen with Michael Bublé last night and Stephen Ellis. So we got lots to tackle. And by the way, some other big league news coming today with the 2025 Four Nations tournament as well as 2026 and 2030 Olympic hockey announcement.
Was that spoiled, by the way, by the IIHF? Did they put out a tweet and then deleted it, I saw?
I think that's happened before.
Yeah. Is it out there now, though?
Yeah, I mean...
Because Batman's talking today, right?
Yeah, that was... But once they sent out a thing saying that
you're done.
Gary Bettman and Marty Walsh are talking together, I mean, a pretty good indication of what's coming.
Nobody owns news.
Who owns the Chiefs?
Who owns the news?
That's pretty good. Well, Frank, I'll be honest. I'm thankful you came on after my display in Alberta, and I thought you disowned me as a team member. So
I would never do that. I'm a true team player, and I got a little excited in the third game.
Dude, you're awesome. Next year,
intensity
Frankie's getting a
brought.
fucking C. That's what he's getting. Frank, thanks so much for this. We're going to take a break, and after this, we're going to wrap things up here.
Love it.
Can't be beat, man. It's so great to have a teammate like that. We got to put the C on him next year too.
It is nice,
Yeah.
man. He's it's nice to have a guy in the know. I'm not exactly always
it's-
in the know, so having Frank there is a nice little comfort blanket for
It's
me.
funny because Wednesday night, we had that team dinner, and watching Frank fucking snapping around on the phone as Lindholm got traded, it was crazy, man. Like everybody's like zooming in. I felt bad for Frank. Everybody's zooming in. Oh, Frank's breaking a trade, but it's really cool to see an insider work behind the scenes, like always texting. It's crazy.
Yeah, phone starts blowing
Yeah.
up. You're like, I wonder what's going on, and then your Twitter. That lasts 20 seconds before it starts blowing up all over Twitter and stuff, because it's a huge deal to get traded. Guys have families and stuff. I remember I was on a golf course once and I had got traded. My brother and dad are texting me like these headline things, and my trade is no world-beating news by any stretch. And I'm like, could I not get a phone call? And I thought it was like April Fool's or
What was
something.
the
I'm like, this
return in the
doesn't make
trade?
sense. Harry Zolnarchuk.
Oh yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
World beater.
One for one or what?
Blockbuster. Yeah, but then Paul Holmgren calls me right afterwards, and I was like, holy shit, this is happening. But no, I always shake my head when I hear guys get the news at dinner with their wife or something, and some random event or person tells them, or some Twitter or online or something. I'm like, how does your GM not give you a call before that gets out there?
Yeah, it really is a different time, obviously, with social media. We talked about that a bit with Frank Seravalli. I just want to take a couple minutes to thank everybody here on location. Killed it. We just showed up on the casting couch and did a tremendous job. So
Yeah, well, the job was done. All the work was done before we got here, so thanks to everyone at Nation. It's pretty badass what they do out there.
it was just pretty unique to like see you in person. I'm so close to you. Like you're always.
I'm always shocked by how tall you are every time.
Everybody always says that.
Yeah,
I told you last year I bumped into somebody who watched the show. No, the Halloween party. I was at a Halloween party at the Bret Hart costume.
Yeah, that's a good
And
pop.
this guy and his girlfriend came out to me and they're like, "Are you so and so?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I work with Jay Rosehill, the former Toronto Maple Leaf." And they're like, "Yeah, we watch your shit. Didn't realize you're a big dude." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll fucking throw you."
Yeah,
Like,
I guess
the whole
everyone-
conversation.
Everyone just assumes you're a squeaky little weasel and is
Why
surprised.
do I
to
look
see
like a
some height.
do I look like a nerd or what? Like I really
Why is it short people nerds or what? No,
I don't know. They're just different.
I just don't look like you're that tall. But you get to your, I think you're taller than I am.
Because
but-
I get this a lot. I had somebody come up to me last night, watches the NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast with the NHL, and big fan. He's like, "I didn't realize." Like, I'm fucking buzzing, man.
Okay, whatever you say, buddy.
This has been a blast, man. I look forward to doing more with you. You're just coming out of your shell the last couple shows, so
Really?
yeah,
Oh, good.
yeah.
My voice isn't as raspy. I got in trouble for having a raspy voice yesterday.
Hey, we
Well,
got to keep you on a leash on these trips. I don't blame anybody for holding you accountable. We talk about accountability a lot.
I need some accountability in my life. It's good.
At the Leafs Nation 401, again, can't thank everybody enough. Seagram's VO Whiskey Studio. Seagram's, there it is right there on
Taking
the
a
screen.
couple of those home with me. Just
No,
so
you're
you know.
not.
Oh.
This is for show only.
sorry
So
about
appreciate everybody in the chat at the Leafs Nation 401 once again. We'll be back on Monday as we preview the Leafs and the New York Islanders. So we'll talk then. Take care.